So a topic I've been fascinated with recently is the concept of the multi-club network, and particularly its role in developing players. Whilst I do agree with most of the arguments against a multi-club network, I actually do like the idea for a few reasons, which I think people completely miss. And so in this video I'm first going to analyse Shea Lacey and Amir Ibragimov, before telling you what my long-term vision would be for a multi-club network in relation to Manchester United and Ineos. If you do like this topic, I have discussed it in more depth on my Patreon podcast. You can check that out with a 7-day free trial if you are interested. So Shea Lacey, if we were going to compare him stylistically to an elite level player, it probably would be Phil Foden. Like Foden, Lacey is a diminutive, creative wide player with fantastic technical ability and a wand of a left foot who primarily plays from the right flank. Now in terms of height, Foden is about 5'7", 5'8", but I can't really find any accurate information around Lacey's height. But given that he is still growing and he's only 16, nearly 17, I don't think making the assumption that he'll probably grow to around Foden's height and stature by his early 20s is too much of a jump to make, though he certainly has to develop physically, because at the moment I just don't think he's ready for senior football, as the likes of Harry Amas or even Amir Ibragimov are, but I'll come on to this more when I discuss the multi-club network. Lacey has very good manipulation of the ball in tight areas, being able to drop a shoulder and use his low centre of gravity to drift past players seamlessly, which is actually an advantage of being a smaller player. Now unlike someone like Lamine Yamal as of yet, Lacey doesn't have the same level of athleticism and pace, but to be fair, there aren't many 16 or 17 year olds that do. But what I really like about Lacey is that he has multiple strings to his bow. He's capable of cutting inside from the right onto his left foot and either looking for a long pass to switch play, a lofted pass over the back line, or a threaded through ball to release a player in behind, whilst also showing capabilities of being able to drive through on the inside and get into shooting positions around the box. However, at youth level he's also shown that he isn't one-dimensional, but before I get into that, if you like me are a fan of the retro jerseys more than the new season ones, go over to Jersey FIFA. They've got all the Manchester United retro jerseys through the 90s and 2000s, as well as from other club and international sides as well. If you use code Atlantis at checkout you'll get a discount. A link will be in my Instagram bio, which I will leave linked in the description. And so what I mean by Lacey not being one-dimensional is that he can go down the outside as well, faking a pass or a cross on his left before dragging the ball back, unbalancing the fullback and racing down the outside. Now obviously the analysis that we can do of both Lacey and Ibragimov is somewhat limited until at least we start to see them play for the under-23s, just because of the physical development that they and players around them will experience in the next few years, which can radically change a player's style and how good he is. But Lacey is a massive talent, and someone who you'd hope would be capable of being a significant first team player for United by the age of 20 or 21. However, the period in between where they're developing certain attributes, which I'll come on to, is crucial, and I'll discuss that after analysing Ibragimov. So whilst Lacey can be fairly easily put into a category of a creative left-footed right winger, it's harder to nail down exactly where Ibragimov will play in the future, and what style of player he'll actually develop into. And this is because he's played multiple different positions throughout his youth career, from the right flank, the left, even as a centre forward, but since coming into the under-18s, it's been as a central midfielder and number 8 of sorts, where Ibragimov has primarily played. Now realistically, it's incredibly hard to judge players when they are playing under 16s, so a lot of my analysis could change. But just from watching a few games that Ibragimov has played in, I think his long-term position is as an advanced central midfielder, the sort of player who would be a long-term replacement for Bruno Fernandes. But realistically, he isn't even a replacement Fernandes, because we're going to need to replace him in the next 1, 2, maybe 3 years, but by that time Ibragimov is still only going to be a teenager. But in terms of skill set, he's kind of like a young Wayne Rooney. He's certainly got the build, already incredibly well developed for his age, having that natural power to be able to receive the ball and turn and drive past players in the centre of the pitch. He is technically very good in congested areas in terms of his ball control and manipulation of his body positioning to turn quick and drive away from players, whilst also having a very good range of passing as well. Now his passing still does need to be refined, as it can be a little off target at times, particularly when he tries long passes out to the flanks, but that is expected and should improve naturally as he gets older. But you can also see why he's been used further forward, being the sort of player who can drive from the middle into the final third and be a goal scoring threat with his shooting ability around the box, being able to not only generate a lot of power with his strikes, but also having the sort of accuracy that we kind of saw from Mason Greenwood in the academy. For a central midfielder, he's also got quite a bit of flair in his game, which makes him very unique. Whether it's pirouettes, quick shifts off the ball, Ibragimov could also develop into a wide player as well, with a combination of flair and raw power. Now defensively I haven't seen too much of him, but from a physical standpoint, I don't think playing as a central midfielder is going to be much of an issue, as even though Lacey is about a year older than him, Ibragimov is far more physically developed. But now we come on to how United can actually make sure these two develop into the players they have the potential to be. Despite Ibragimov being around a year younger than Lacey, I think because of his physical advantage, both players are probably around the same level in terms of their development. I'd like to see both get a chance with the under-21s next season, which they probably will, but come the start of 2025 or maybe that summer, I think this is where a multi-club network could really come into play for United. Now I recognise that 2025 may be slightly too early for Ineos to build up this club network structure, but let's just assume they're able to do it for the purposes of this video. I've said many times that I think the MLS is a great place to send young players. A lot of pushback against this idea was that the MLS isn't a high standard, which in comparison to the Premier League it's not. It's probably low-end Championship, top-end League One at this point. However, there are a few reasons as to why I think the MLS could be the perfect place for players like Ibragimov and Lacey at the age of 17 and 18 to develop. So the way I would set up a club network is in a pyramid format with Manchester United at the top and 2 or 3 top 5 league teams underneath. OGC Nice in France, maybe Royal Antwerp in Belgium, and even a Portuguese mid-table club as well, just for the work permit benefits in regards to Brazilian players. But these 2 or 3 clubs would be where you send players on loan with the idea of them coming back the season after and having significant roles. If this club network system were active for this season, that would be where the likes of Amad Diallo and Alvaro Fernandez would have gone on loan, considering they haven't been given enough game time in the first team. However, Shea Lacey and Ibragimov aren't ready for these loans, as they almost certainly wouldn't be given significant game time, and so you would need a level below this level in the pyramid. Ineos' other club Lausanne are probably in this tier below. But you could also have an MLS club and an Australian A-League club alongside a club in Asia, in either the South Korean K-League or the Japanese J-League. For Lacey and Ibragimov, sending them on loan to either the US or Australia next season would be the avenue I go down, or maybe the season after, depending on when United think they are ready. Now I have suggested Inter Miami for the MLS club before because of the Beckham connection, but considering their transfer strategy involves signing big names like Messi and co, you'd probably want to avoid them for player development. And so for example, let's go with either Austin FC or Nashville SC. In this club network, you'd also make sure that the head coach in place plays a similar style of football to what Manchester United do, which in my plan would obviously be similar to the Zerbi style of play, but also a similar system as well. Lacey and Ibragimov could be sent on loan to either the MLS or an A-League club in the network, with their preferences being taken into account and what positions are available at those certain clubs. Well, they'll be able to go into the side at age 16 or 17 or maybe even a year later, with the quality of being starting players in a league that according to global rankings is the 16th highest league in the world, ahead of the Scottish Premier League in 17th and behind the Danish Superliga in 15th. The other benefit of utilising the US and Australia for player development is that it won't be as big a culture shock as it would be to send them to either Japan or even other places in Europe at that age, but still a change in scenery that will take them out of their comfort zone and force them to adapt. At Austin FC, the average attendance is around 20,000 and at Nashville it's around 28,000, meaning that Lacey and Ibragimov would be playing in front of crowds akin to championship level, which should aid their development in terms of dealing with pressure on the pitch, rather than jumping straight from 5k supporters in the under-21s to 75k at Old Trafford. They could play in the MLS from maybe August to December for the second half of the season, return to Manchester United over the winter period, and then maybe return around February for the start of the next MLS season, before returning to Manchester United that summer ready for the start of the next season. If Lacey and Ibragimov are ready for first team football in Europe, they should be able to look very impressive in the MLS, and this will also give us a better idea of what they could actually develop into in the Premier League, rather than simply just watching them in the under-21s, which isn't senior football. Yes, the MLS isn't at the level of the Premier League or the top 5 leagues in Europe, but that's the point. You don't want players like Lacey and Ibragimov go into leagues and teams where the quality is too high because they won't be able to get game time and may struggle when given the opportunity. Either the MLS, which is the 16th highest ranked league in the world, or if they aren't quite ready for that level, the A-League in Australia, which sits in 29th. After half a season or a season on loan there, Lacey and Ibragimov can then be brought back to United, assessed to see whether they are going to have enough game time in the United squad, and if not, they can be loaned out to a club in the second level of the multi-club pyramid, OGC Nice, Royal Antwerp, or maybe a Portuguese side like Guimarães, where they should now hopefully be ready to be starting players, and after this season, they then should be ready to come back to United. So if you are interested in hearing more of my thoughts about the multi-club network, you can sign up to my Patreon, you can get a 7-day free trial, it will be linked in the description. I should have at least 1, maybe 2 episodes out on this topic, as well as some other unreleased videos as well. If not, you can check out some of my other videos which will be in the description, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when my videos come out.